Hey guys, welcome to Lunar Persuasion Astrology. Today we're going to look at the transits for March 2025 using the Sidereal Zodiac. And I have the transits pulled up on my screen right now. This is actually a screenshot from my blog on lunarpersuasion.com. Be sure to subscribe if you want to get notified whenever I post a new blog like this. I typically post the transits a week to a few days before I put out a video. So today we're going to look at some of the major transits, and then I'm also going to do a breakout report for each ascendant. So be sure to stick around and look for your sign. You can look at it from your ascendant or from your moon. And before we get started, I just want to remind you that I do have some paperback books available on Amazon, and they're for your astrology journey, especially if you're studying Vedic astrology. I've got 2 chart journals out. One featured here is with the North Indian chart, and I just put out a chart journal with the quick reference guide for using the South Indian chart, the square chart. And then also I've got the 2025 Transit in the Sky Vedic Astrology Report, which is what we'll be referencing with today's video. And you can follow along. I have every month mapped out for 2025. And I just published the 2026 version, which is new and improved, a lot more information and insights than even the 2025 version. So go ahead and get your copy today, and you can be prepped and planned ahead of the transits and planetary energies that are going to be happening for you. All right, so we're going to start with the first of the month. We've got Venus going retrograde in the sign of Pisces. And what's special about this is Venus is exalted in Pisces. So if you think about all 12 signs, Pisces is where Venus wants to be the most. It's its favorite place. And so it's going to turn retrograde on the 1st, and Venus does not retrograde every year. And when it does, it's a very special occasion, and it can really stir things up. So what is Venus? Venus represents love, beauty, represents our relationships and our ability to be compassionate and to be agreeable, to make commitments. And when Venus is retrograde, it's all the RE words, right? We're revisiting, we're revaluing, we're rethinking. And this could be a time where there is an old flame or an old commitment that comes up. Just lots of themes around second chances and revisiting themes related to love, relationship, and also the things that you value, right? So if you love something, you value it, and it can be including things that are your resources, food, luxury items, things like that. So that's going to be on the 1st of the month. Then we go into, hold on, I'm navigating my screens here. Then we're going to see the moon transiting through Aries into Leo. And on the 13th will be a full moon. So let's go ahead and scoot over to the 13th. All right, and so we can see that the moon is in Leo and it is opposite the sun, and we're sitting at the very end. Let me see if I can get this even closer. This is a full moon that is in the final degrees of the sign. Here we go. I always like to dial it in here on pretty much on the right on the 2nd. So and it's actually showing the 14th at 1:55 a.m. So this will be kind of different depending on your time zone. It could happen on the 13th or 14th, but it's going to be in the full moon the Tithi of the full moon will be in effect on the 13th, but the exact alignment of the sun and the moon looks like it happens on the 14th. And this is in the sign of Leo. We've also got, yeah, that's right, this is a lunar eclipse. So we've got a full moon lunar eclipse, big energy. We're going to break this down for each sign, But just in general, the moon is, if you watch any of my other videos, you know, if you follow astrology, the moon is your mind, it's your emotions, it's how you perceive the world. And the lunar eclipse is always a full moon, and the full moon is always the heightened emotions. It's the brightest the moon gets. The tides are affected, and you know, the emotions can be really amplified. And with a lunar eclipse at play, there's some sort of ending, some sort of culmination of an event or an ending of a cycle that will be taking place. And Leo, of course, is the natural fifth house that is ruled by the sun. So this is this, hey, look at me energy. It's all about your identity and your self-expression and your personal truth as well. So that will be on the 13th, 14th of March. And this is actually going to kind of kick off the eclipse season, because we've also got a solar eclipse coming up, and we'll talk about that later in the video. All right, so then we take a look at the very next day, which is the 14th, and this is a transit of the sun. And as you can see, the sun in the top left-hand corner here is Pisces. Sun has just entered in. And so this will be a 30 days of the sun being in the sign of Pisces. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the sun is our soul, it's our vitality, it's our ego. The sun represents the father, the king, the authority figure, also government, that sort of thing. And so when the sun is in Pisces, it's in this expansive house of spirituality and kind of going beyond the physical plane. So there'll be this focus, this shift of awareness towards what's beyond just our physical attachments. And we'll go into this more with each sign, break it down based on the house that Pisces is for you and your ascendant, and then also the house that sun rules, because sun as a house ruler will bring different effects for each ascendant. So we'll be on the lookout for that on the middle of the month. We've got sun entering into Pisces. All right, and then we've got on the 15th, which is actually already showing on the screen. These transits are happening moments between each other, like hours and minutes between each other. Mercury is retrograde, and so you can already see it on the screen. We've got Mercury and Venus retrograde. Now, what's special about this retrograde of Mercury is that Mercury is in its debilitated state. So whereas Venus is exalted, Mercury is debilitated. So what we have are two of our personal planets. One is exalted, one is debilitated. These are the extremes of the spectrum. And they're also retrograde. So the way I've looked at this is kind of like a good time to rewrite your love language. And I just love the wording around that. And it had a good ring to it. But the reason why this applies is because Mercury is our intellect, it's the thinking mind, it is about our communication, how we process information, and how we communicate that information out, how new ideas come in. And it really is an important planet. And as you may know, Mercury retrograde is kind of wildly infamous, right, for technology breaking down, systems going haywire. It's not a good time to sign contracts or do anything that has to deal with communications, because there's a good chance that you may be revisiting it, or it may come undone once Mercury goes direct. And so having both of these planets together in a retrograde, I'll actually do a breakout video for this about rewriting your love language, and I already have the blog posted on my website if you want to check it out. All you have to do is go to lunarpersuasion.com, and like I said, don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified when these come out. So we've got this Mercury retrograde with Venus. We're going to look at this for each ascendant, but in general, this is a time to reassess, rethink, and possibly change your mind on something. So specifically over the last several weeks, it will be the portion of the sky that Mercury transits in a retrograde motion. So it's going to appear to be traveling back in time, going over the same portion of space. And if you think about your last couple of weeks, anything that you've said or thought or initiated, any ideas, those sort of things are going to be under review during this time. And just in general, whenever Mercury's in retrograde, it's just a good time to slow down, make sure that you're not analyzing or judging something incorrectly, because Mercury is also our planet of discernment and discrimination. And it's how we process things logically and where we find reason. And so these kind of things can be unreliable during a Mercury retrograde. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so we're mid-month. Now let's go just a few more days into the 18th. And I do not talk about this in the individual reports, but we will talk about it here really quickly. So if you take a look at this UR here, this is Uranus, and Uranus has been hanging out in this cusp between Aries and Taurus, and he just recently went direct. And this Uranus has a very strong, powerful impact on let me move this there. Has a very strong, powerful impact on the collective. It's the outer planets are typically looked at in a generational perspective, and though it's not part of the traditional Vedic system, so I won't break out each individual ascendant, what this looks like for each individual ascendant, but I will talk about it here. And so Uranus is going to enter into Taurus, and Uranus is kind of a rebellious planet. So think of it as a higher vibration of Mercury. So Uranus is innovation and radical thinking and changing, and it's like electricity, electric, and it can be quite disruptive. And so it's going to be entering in, let me scoot this up a little bit. I'm actually going by the hours here. You see how it just hangs out. All right, here we go. So now we've got Uranus, and it's going to be joined Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. And Uranus transits a sign for 7 years. So if you would like me to do a Uranus video for the 7 years, let me know down in the comments below. But it's going to be in themes of Taurus. So what is Taurus? Taurus is our values. It's our resources. It's our comfort and security. It's stability, it's food and comfort and resources, and also luxury things. And so Uranus here will be kind of shaking things up. It's also the second house of speech, Taurus. And so you can kind of see like free speech, your voice, food. And if you've been watching the news lately, there's a lot going on in regards to our free speech and to the food that we're eating. And this is kind of, all over the world. I'm from the United States, and this is a very big topic right now with the quality of food that we have available, all the poisons and toxins and seed oils and all of that thing going on, as well as free speech. Recently the TikTok ban was happening. There's all of these things going on that can be considered radical or innovative in these areas. So just keep that in mind when you're watching the news, that the Uranus in the sign of Taurus is going to be shaking up these things, okay? And we can talk about more of that in another video if you like. So then we've got, moving along here, we will have Moon in Scorpio on the 19th, and I'll just scoot across here. So Scorpio is debilitated. Moon is debilitated in Scorpio, and so let's just scoot here. Okay, there we go. So you can see that Moon is in Scorpio there. And this is just where the mind is just not having it, right? The capacity to deal with change and just strife and challenges. The moon is our mind, and it doesn't feel strong enough when it's in Scorpio. Now, oddly enough, Scorpio is the sign of sudden transformation and change. So you can see how those things correlate with each other. So whenever moon is in Scorpio, there is pretty much a whole day, 2.5 days of this transit where we're just not feeling motivated, just not feeling our best, just may not be feeling super ambitious or super positive. And that's okay. So just knowing that on the 19th of March, and let's just scoot here. So from the 19th to the 20th could be some, not super awesome days mentally. And this is a universal thing, right? Moon is transiting Scorpio for everyone. And depending on what house this is for you, will kind of show you what part of your life is being activated by this vulnerability of the moon. Okay. Now, let's look at the next major transit we have, which is a solar eclipse. So in this month, we have both a lunar and a solar eclipse. Now, this solar eclipse is going to be on the 28th. And as you can see up here in our popular Pisces square in the top left-hand corner, we've got quite the pile up. So now we have Sun and Moon. We've got Mercury retrograde still, Venus retrograde still, Rahu is here, and Neptune. So this has been a very active portion of the sky. And so what is a solar eclipse? What is that? Well, solar eclipses are new moons. It's when the sun and the moon are together. And so already there's no light of the moon being shine. And so what I like to say is you got to bring your own light, right? It can be a time to make wishes, to create new goals, to set new intentions, all of those things. And typically that's what you would do during a new moon. But when there is a solar eclipse, the light of the sun is also being eclipsed out and cut out. And so this is very symbolic. And it also will indicate a big shift. It could be around the themes of Pisces, like spirituality and enlightenment, right? And there could also be this very ungrounded, kind of lofty feeling going on. And yes, and so then we'll look at where the sun rules for you in your chart, and this will give a better idea of where this solar eclipse energy is going to be taking place for you. I hate that it offsets like that. Okay. Now, and then we have one final transit happening at the end of the month, the very last day. I told you guys March was very jammed packed. So we have on the 29th, so actually this happens moments after the solar eclipse. You can see this was pretty late in the day. I don't even have it lined up quite yet for the solar eclipse. But if we go ahead just a little bit, you can see Saturn, 29 degrees, 57. Here we go. And it is going to enter into Pisces. There we go. All right, guys. 2.5 year transit of Saturn in Pisces. This is a big shift, major shift. And wherever Saturn goes, he brings delay and limitation and restriction and boundaries. And Saturn is basically shaping up that house that he's in for the next 2.5 years. And I believe I've already fast forward through this. I don't think Saturn goes back into Aquarius at all. And so Saturn's going to move direct and be in Pisces for the next 2.5 years. And we'll also look at where Saturn is aspecting. He has a special aspect third from itself, which will be Taurus. So we have Saturn casting his aspect of delay and discipline onto that house that we were talking about with Uranus and Taurus. And Jupiter's there expanding it. And also Saturn will aspect 10 places from itself. And so we've got Saturn aspecting Sagittarius. So Jupiter is really getting hit here, as well as Venus, because Venus and Jupiter are exchanging signs, and Jupiter is in Venus's sign. Saturn's aspecting Venus's sign, but also aspecting Jupiter and Jupiter's other house. So these themes of expansion and hope and guidance and the things that we have comfort in, Venus is our planet of happiness and security. And these things are getting hit by Saturn. Saturn is basically the taskmaster. He's laying down the law. He's saying, get it right or pay the price, basically. And so Saturn will be looking at these houses, and we'll break this down for where Saturn is looking at which houses Saturn is looking at for you in your chart. So specifically, where is Taurus and where is Sagittarius in your chart, because those areas of life will feel the impact of Saturn. Now, this will be another breakout video that I'll do with Saturn in Pisces for all the signs. But, Saturn's influence reminds us that lasting results come through perseverance. So that means that it can feel like the progress is slow, but as long as we keep at it, keep that discipline, keep that due diligence, then the results will show up at the end. It's pretty much guaranteed. You just got to keep at it. And a lot of times when Saturn is really laying down the law, it's hard to see that hope. It's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And it will especially be so with his influence on Jupiter during this transit. So when Jupiter transits into Gemini, it will be a little bit different. But so long as he's in Taurus right now, we're going to be really feeling that. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the individual reports for each sign. As a reminder, you can follow using your ascendant, or if you'd like, you can look at your moon, because the houses from your moon are very insightful. And what I would suggest is that you combine the two. So look at the houses in the report for your ascendant, look at the one for your moon, combine them, kind of synthesize them together. That's what astrology is. And you know best your own life. You are the observer of your life. So what I'm saying here is generalized. But if you have a specific planet placement, the strength of your planets and the dignity of them is also very important. So just take what I'm saying with, a grain of salt and apply it to your life where it makes sense. These reports are meant to just be a guide, something to help you kind of just think about it, be aware, and have a little bit of a heads up. And so with that being said, let's get started. All right, Aries ascendant or Aries moon. Let's look at the March overview for you specific to your house rulership. So on the 1st of March, we've got Venus turning retrograde in the sign of Pisces. Now, a lot of activity is happening in Pisces this month. Pisces is your 12th house. So here's some themes around the 12th house. The 12th house is a Dashtana house, which can bring challenges and can be things that are involved around isolation, expenses, loss. It can also be a very spiritual house. And so that kind of goes hand in hand whenever you pursue a more spiritual world or outlook on life. The material possessions and attachments seem to be affected. It's hard to balance the two. And that's where that Dashtana comes in, that 12th house of not feeling super awesome, but there is a lot of growth that can take place in 12th house transits. There's also some themes around detachment, right? Detaching from those material desires and pursuing a more spiritual pursuit. And the 12th house is also a moksha house, which ties in to those spiritual themes, letting go. And really, it's a growth cycle. So the 12th house is the end of the zodiac. It's representing the end of a cycle. And so there will be these themes playing out as we have these transits moving into this sign for you, Aries Ascendant. All right, so on the 1st, Venus goes retrograde, and so this can be a loss of motivation towards relationships. It could be a lack of beauty. You could be missing beauty in your relationships. It could be perhaps an expensive time. There can be some loss of savings. And it could also be just time away from relationships. You may want to escape with food or consumption in that way. And it's also a time for just quiet speech. So you might just be inward, meditation. If that's not your thing, just being in a reflective state of mind. And with Venus retrograde, it's something to think about your values, right? To rethink what you appreciate and to rethink what brings value into your life. And that is a very strong dynamic between yourself and relationships, because the relationship is a mirror of what you project. And so we naturally want to feel appreciated by our efforts, whatever we contribute to a relationship. There is this checking back with ourselves, like, hey, is this worth it? And that's really what Venus is about, is, hey, is this worth it? And so with Venus retrograde in Pisces, she is exalted. So it's a very strong Venus, but it could also be uncomfortable if you have a lot of material attachments because of this 12th house energy. Now, we've got the full moon lunar eclipse coming up on the 13th, and it goes into the 14th as well. And this is in the sign of Leo. Now, Leo is your 5th house, and the moon is your 4th house lord. So the way we look at this is your 4th house ruler in the 5th house. So this is themes around creativity, children, a romance may reach a peak, and there could be some emotional realizations around your self-expression, your creative projects, or your relationship with your children. And all of these things may surface at this time. So full moons are a time of reflection, and you may be releasing old patterns of joy, or step into a new form of self-confidence, because that's what Leo is all about. Leo is the, hey, look at me, and the moon is bringing in those emotions. So we've got this emotional, hey, look at me thing going on with the full moon. Now, on the 14th, which is pretty much immediately after the full moon, we've got Sun joining the Pisces gang, okay? So Sun will be in Pisces for the next 30 days, and Sun is your 5th lord. And in the 12th house, this could feel like a loss of confidence. It could be disrupted sleep, but it could also be very intuitive dreams. So wherever the sun is transiting, it's bringing light, it's bringing focus and awareness and awakening your consciousness. So it could be bringing up things from the subconscious, because the 12th house Pisces energy is the subconscious. It's our dream state. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, on the 15th, the very next day, we've got Mercury turning retrograde. And if you watch the introduction, you'll know I talked about these are two personal planets, Mercury and retrograde, Mercury and Venus going retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So for you, Mercury is your third and sixth house ruler going into the 12th house. So there could be some intellectual, some confusion. There could also be a lack of courage there because the third house is the house of courage. And there could be some challenges with secret enemies. And this is very specific, but the sixth house, Mercury rules your sixth house of enemies and litigation and obstacles and overcoming. And when that goes into the 12th house, there is this strength that happens with a Dashtana planet, which is the sixth house ruler, going into a Dashtana house, which is the 12th house. But the difference here, and this is something that's pretty nuanced, is the sixth house, your Mercury, is your effort. And so when it's going retrograde, there can be this revisiting of your effort, this rethinking of how you process and problem solve into the 12th house, which is not a house of effort. In fact, the 12th house is the house of surrender, of letting go, of no effort, honestly. So there is that theme of your effort going into this house of surrender. So that's something to think about. Now, when we've got Sun on, let's see, where are we looking at? Okay, so we've got Uranus and Taurus on the 18th. I don't have an individual breakout for that, but this Taurus is your second house. So there you go. There's the individual breakout. Now, we'll have the moon in Scorpio on the 19th, 20th. These are days to just keep an eye out. You may not be feeling your best. So, it could be a highly emotional 2 days. Now, on the 28th, there is a new moon in your 12th house, which is also a solar eclipse. And so this can be, I've got it here, it's like the beginning of an end. So eclipses are these new beginnings, but it takes an ending for it to happen. Now, the sun is part of the solar eclipse, and so the sun is your fifth lord ruler, and this is going into your 12th. So there could be creative or romantic endings that may lead to a spiritual awakening. You may feel drawn to seclusion, or you may complete a long-term creative project. So release what no longer serves you and make space for that inspiration that's wanting to come in. But with any solar eclipse, the day of, it's great to just take it easy. Don't do anything adventurous. Don't take any risks if you can avoid it, because the eclipses tend to amplify the energies, whether they're good energies or bad energies. They are amplified. All right. And to wrap this up, we've got Saturn going into Pisces at the end of the month on the 29th. And this is the planet of boundaries and structure going into the house of imagination. Now, for you, Saturn is the 10th and 11th house ruler going into the 12th house of expenses and loss. So Saturn represents naturally work and discipline, but for you, it specifically represents career and your aspirations and goals, also your achievements and successes. So Saturn has a lot to do with your reward system. And so a cycle is ending at work, and it's a great time for charitable deeds. And this means that Saturn wants you to be disciplined, and a good remedy for Saturn, just in general, is to be charitable and to donate your time or effort, and in a very selfless way. Saturn represents the people. It's a planet of humility. And, this is going to be a time where there is some sort of ending of a cycle in regard to your career or what you do out in the world, your profession, the actions that you're taking. And then also your 11th house of gains will be in the 12th. So there can be some delay, or it may feel like you're not getting what you want or what you think you should be getting. But it will happen. You've got to just keep at it. That's the lesson of Saturn, is the discipline and the consistent effort, and the reward will come after the transit. So I hope this was helpful for you, Aries, and be sure to check out your moon sign if it's different. And I hope you have an awesome March. Taurus Ascendant or Taurus Moon. This is going to be your overview for March. So I've got the transits pulled up. And on the 1st of March, we've got Venus going retrograde in Pisces. Now, let's take a look at where Pisces is for you, because there's a lot of energy going on in this house. And for you, Pisces is your 11th house of gains, achievements, friends, and also your desires, your aspirations and goals. And it can also represent elder siblings. Now, the main aim of the 11th house is what's called Artha. So this is wealth, material gains, financial security. So all of these things will be activated during these Pisces transits for you. The 11th house is also an Upachaya house, and Upachaya means increasing. So anytime transits are going through an Upachaya house, or this house for you specifically, is going to show things improving. So they may start out at one level, but over time they're going to improve and increase. So if it feels like it's not working out at first, by the end of it, you should have some improvement, especially with it being in the 11th house of gains. Now, Venus going retrograde in Pisces is your first ruler and 6th house ruler going into your 11th house. So this could be gains through your service, through effort, and just doing the daily routine, the daily work that needs to be done. This could also bring beauty into your daily work, into your relationships, and also through networking. There can be some happiness and beauty being brought into that as well. Now, with Venus being retrograde, it could be a more introspective time. It could be a time to rethink your daily routine, rethink how your efforts and perhaps just how you're going about things in general are working out. Are there any things that you need to change, any tweaks around what your expectations are for happiness? And that's really important, because how you expect to be happy is the deadline, right? It's the achievement, it's the marker. And when you don't hit it, it feels like failure. So with this Venus retrograde, this is a great time to rethink your relationships, rethink how you are projecting yourself in relationships. And because this is the 11th house, it's on that 11 and 5 house axis, which is the axis of validation and kind of the societal expectations, right? So 5th house is your identity, 11th house is the collective conscious. And so there is this dynamic tension between your self-expression and the outcome of that, and what you expect, especially the feedback and validation that you get when you express yourself. So moving on, we've got the full moon in Leo on the 13th, 14th, And this is also a lunar eclipse. So this is very powerful. Leo is your fourth house, and the moon is your third house ruler. So what we have here is your third house ruler going into the fourth house. So this is showing effort and communication is needed in the home to keep your peace of mind. And a turning point in the home, family matters or property may arise. And there's emotional truths from the past that may surface. This is allowing you to redefine your sense of security. And it's a great time to let go of what's no longer nurturing you. Okay. So your fourth house is the house of home, nurturing. It represents the mother. It's your emotional connections. And you've got your third ruler going into this house. That just so happens to be the moon, who also represents emotions and emotional thinking. So this could be a very emotional time for you, Taurus, with this eclipse taking place, especially around the emotional effort that you're going to put forward. You may, be thinking about reflecting on your efforts and how connected you are to them. Now we've got Sun going into Pisces on the 14th. So just moments after this full moon lunar eclipse, Sun will transit into Pisces and join the group. Sun for you is your fourth house ruler. So the Sun represents your soul, your ego, your vitality, strength, your confidence mainly. And so when Sun goes into your 11th house, we've got the fourth house ruler going into your house of gains and achievement. So this is showing your emotional connections, activating your goals and aspirations, activating interactions with your friends in social groups. So this could bring authority in social groups, and it could bring peace of mind from your achievements and your gains. So having your fourth house ruler in your house of gains, there could be quite a bit of emotional comfort taking place. So this is really good. Now we've got Mercury going retrograde on the 15th. So just the very next day, Mercury goes retrograde. And if you watch the intro, I talked about Mercury and Venus being the personal planets. And when they're retrograde, it could have a really big impact on our personal life and our personal perceptions. And so with Mercury going retrograde in Pisces, this is your second house ruler and your fifth house ruler going into the 11th house. So there could be gains through your resources and your creative imagination. And with Mercury being retrograde, it could be a good time to just take it slow. Don't rush into anything. Being able to process or analyze something could be slower during this time. There could be some confusion brought in. But with the combination of Mercury and Venus being retrograde, it could also bring light to your relationships and that sort of thing. So we'll move on to the 18th. Uranus is going to move into Taurus. Taurus is your first house. And so this will be a 7-year transit of Uranus in the first house. This is going to be massively transformative for you, Taurus. Radical rebellion, just innovation. You could be completely transforming your entire being, your entire mindset. There is a lot of change happening. So with Uranus going into Taurus on the 18th, that is going to be quite the journey. And I have on here breakthroughs in food and speech, but personally the speech could be like your personal voice, what your personal voice is, as well as food. It's that intake that you take, that you eat, that you consume, whether that be drugs or alcohol or food. all of those things will be under consideration for this transit. Now, on the 19th, Moon goes into Scorpio. And for about 2.5 days, Moon will be here. And this is just a heads up that it may not be your best days. This is collective for everyone. Moon will be in Scorpio, and this is Moon's debilitated state. So just keep an eye out for those days. Scorpio for you is your 7th house, so this could be related to your relationships. Now, on the 28th of the month, we've got the solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse taking place. And this is your 4th ruler in the 11th house. So there could be changes in your friendships, social networks, or long-term aspirations. A goal may culminate for you or may shift your circle of support. So focus on building security through your meaningful connections. And that's because your 4th house ruler, Sun, rules your emotional connections. It's your 4th house. So there also could be themes around your mother with this solar eclipse. So make sure you check in with her. And yeah, other than that, you may have a big win that feels emotionally charged. And so those are kind of the themes to be looking out. Now, for the solar eclipse, the day of is generally a good day to not take any big risks or going on any adventures. Just kind of take it easy, sit back, let the energies pass, and then you can proceed with that new moon energy of manifesting and setting goals. But really the focus here is something is changing. There is a major shift taking place in regards to your goals, your dreams, and your expectations. Now, at the end of the month, on the 30th, we've got Saturn going into Pisces. This is huge. Saturn will be in Pisces for the next 2.5 years. He does not retrograde back into Aquarius, I do not believe. Hopefully I'm correct on that. But we've got this transit means that this is a 9th and 10th house ruler going into the 11th house. So there could be delays with your gains. There can be a lot of hard work and discipline that's required in order to achieve your gains. So this can be kind of disheartening to see such slow progress, but with Saturn, and the lesson of Saturn is to always keep at it. And there will definitely be themes of your higher learning, which is the 9th house, and your career. So there could be extreme success and gains through the career, but it just may feel really slow. Okay. And then I've got on here, Moon goes into Aries on the 30th. It kind of wraps up the whole zodiac. And I really hope this was helpful for you, Taurus, Ascendant, or Taurus Moon. Make sure to check out your moon sign if you haven't already. And yeah, I hope you have a great March. Okay. So we'll see you in the next video. Gemini Ascendant or Gemini Moon, welcome. This is your March individual overview. We're going to start out the month with Venus turning retrograde in the sign of Pisces. Now let's take a look at where Pisces is for you, because there's a lot of transits happening in Pisces. So this house is going to be quite active. Now for Gemini, Pisces is your 10th house of career and karma and the actions you take out in the world. It's also your reputation and that sort of thing, your public life. So the 10th house is a Kendra house, and a Kendra house is one of the 4 major pillars that represent the foundations of your life. And so this is a very significant house. It is also an Artha house. So there's this connection to the earth element, but this just simply means that it's revolved around your career and your status in life, like that reputation I was talking about. Now, Venus for you is your 12th house and 5th house ruler going into your 10th house. So this could show creativity in your career, but an instability in that status. So there could be some uncertainties because of the ungrounded nature of Pisces here, but with creativity, a focus on creativity, you could really flourish. Now, with Venus being retrograde, this could be a time to rethink and revisit these themes of your creativity and what brings you happiness. So the fifth house is really the mind. It's an imaginative house, and so there is this level of happiness and just having fun. And also, with it being your 12th house ruler, this could bring in some confusion, or maybe just the contradictory nature of having fun and being playful of the fifth house with the more serious isolation nature of the 12th house. And so Venus being here in your 10th can bring beauty into your work. It could bring diplomacy there. Just with it being retrograde is not a good time to rush into things. It'll be great to reconsider, rethink, perhaps revisit old relationships through career that can be beneficial to you at this time. Now, on the 13th, you'll have a full moon in Leo. This is also a lunar eclipse. And so lunar eclipse is a very strong, powerful full moon where the light of the moon is completely cut out, even though it's the brightest phase of the moon. It'll be eclipsed by the shadowy nodes. And so we've got your second house ruler in the third house. So moon for you rules the second house, and Leo is your third house. So there could be clarity or endings around communication, siblings, short travels. A writing project may come to completion, or you may resolve an old issue with a sibling. Expressing your emotions becomes crucial during this time, and it may be quite easy with it being a full moon. It's an emotional time. But with the moon being your second house ruler, it shows emotion through your speech. And going into your third house, this is your house of courage, of interest, of ideas and communication. And so there could be emotional speech in your communication. So just be careful with that, especially with your younger siblings. Now on the 14th, we've got Sun going into Pisces, joining the club here. So Sun is your third house ruler going into your 10th house. So this is great. This is your your planet of courage, and Sun being the planet of confidence going into your career, into your 10th house. So this can feel like quite a boost, especially with Sun being a purifying planet. Wherever it transits, the Sun's hot rays want to purify that area of life. And so when you have the Sun focusing on that for the next 30 days or so, this could be a really good boost in your confidence in relation to your career and the actions that you take. Now, on the 15th, the very next day, Mercury is going retrograde. So if you watch the intro, you heard me say that Mercury and Venus are the personal planets. It's our personal planets. Both will be retrograde. One's debilitated, one's exalted. And I've coined this as rewriting your love language. And that's because Venus is the planet of what you value and love and appreciate. And Mercury is your intellect and how you communicate that love and those values and that appreciation. And with both of them being retrograde at this time, it is a great time to think about your expectations for yourself in regards to your career. And the love language in regard to your career can, really look back at your passions and what you truly enjoy doing. And this could be a very reflective time of that. It's going to be about a 24-day period where both personal planets are retrograde. So just take it slow. Don't rush into anything, but this is a great time to be reflective and to be introspective around those issues. Now, on the 18th, Uranus is going to transit into Taurus. Taurus is your 12th house. So for you, there is going to be a radical shift. There's going to be innovation in regard to your spirituality, the 12th house of spirituality. It's also a house of expenses and losses, but it's all about your perception, right? The losses are may feel bad if they are something you feel really emotionally attached to, but wherever there's a loss, there's the gain that's waiting to come in. And so that's really the 12th house energy for you with Uranus going in. Think of Uranus as a higher vibration of Mercury, and with Mercury being your ruling planet, very intellectual, very of the mind, a lot of thinking and reasoning going on. And so this could be breakthroughs in your spiritual pursuits during this 7-year transit. Now, on the 19th and 20th, Moon will be in Scorpio, and this is your 6th house. And so this could be a challenging couple of days. So if you're not feeling up to it, you'll know why. Try to avoid, scheduling any kind of public events or days where you need to speak, or just kind of give yourself to other people. On these days, it could be more difficult. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the 28th, there will be a new moon solar eclipse in your 10th house. This is going to be massive. So with this solar eclipse, Sun is your 3rd house ruler going into your 10th. So there could be a career shift or a public recognition could be possible. Your communication skills and media projects may gain attention. So be open to new professional directions or leadership opportunities. Now, with that being said, Mercury is still retrograde, and so is Venus. So just be cautious in your communications, especially in the career sphere. Okay. Now, solar eclipses are typically a day to not be too adventurous, not take too many risks if possible. So on the day of the eclipse, you can totally chill out and take it easy. And then the day after, you can embrace those new moon energies, set those intentions, manifest those new goals, and that sort of thing. And this will be in regard to your career. Now, at the end of the month, we've got Saturn going into Pisces. This is huge. A lot of major transits this month. Saturn is your 8th and 9th house ruler. So this is the planet of transformation and higher learning going into your career. So as you can see, there's a lot going on with your career this month. So this could be transformational career shifts, and also, again, a delay in status. So just keep that in mind. Don't stop the efforts. Don't stop the discipline. Saturn wants you to keep working hard. It just may not feel that great at times, and you may not see the light at the end of the tunnel or the rewards on the other side, but they are there. They're coming. You just got to keep at it, okay? So with that being said, I hope you have a really awesome March. A lot of energy is going on. Be sure to check out your moon sign if you haven't already. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Cancer Ascendant or Cancer Moon, welcome. This is your March overview report. And we're going to start out the month on the 1st with Venus retrograde in Pisces. So let's take a look at Pisces for you, because there's a lot of energy going on this month. And for you, Cancer, Pisces is your 9th house of higher learning, teachers, wisdom, and also long distance travel. The 9th house can also represent your father. Now, the 9th house is a Dharma house. And so this is a very auspicious house for you. It is very much related to your meaning and purpose in life, right? A Dharma house has that purpose in life. And this could also be some spiritual growth, with the ninth house being related to beliefs and your philosophies. So with Venus going into Pisces, we've got your 11th and 4th house ruler going into the ninth house. So there could be wisdom in relationships. You can have gains through travel, and there could be peace of mind through higher learning and bringing in knowledge and wisdom. That's so awesome. And with Venus being retrograde, it's just a time to be more reflective, more introspective around these themes. And especially with relationships, it could be time to revisit the knowledge and the higher benefit that you're getting from your relationships, and what kind of teacher is your relationship bringing into your life, what kind of knowledge and wisdom, right? Now, there is a full moon lunar eclipse taking place on the 13th. And the 13th is, the 13th and 14th is when the full moon will be. It kind of happens overnight. And Leo for you is your second house. And the moon is your first house ascendant. So this will be a full moon all about you, Cancer. And now, even though it is in Leo, this is activating your first house of self. So it's really everything about you and what you project out into the world. So there could be emotional intensity around your finances, family values, or possessions, with this being your second house of Leo. So you could experience gains or losses that redefine your self-worth, and issues related to family legacy could surface. And I say gains or losses because this is a lunar eclipse, and typically these are the ends of cycles, and a big shift and big transformation could be happening there. Now, on the 14th, Sun will be in Pisces. And for you, Sun is the second house ruler going into your ninth house. So this is showing knowledge, gains of resources through your father or teacher, and your speech, your inner voice will bring higher learning. And that's also in conjunction with just the natural karka of Sun, the indications of Sun, which show your confidence and authority. So there could definitely be some connections here with your father and lessons learned from him, or lessons learned from a teacher or mentor, or any kind of resource that you're bringing in will be also bringing in that wisdom and knowledge. Now, on the 15th, Mercury goes retrograde, and if you watched my intro, then you know that Mercury and Venus are our personal planets, and they're both going retrograde this month in Pisces. And so Mercury for you is your 12th house ruler and your third house ruler going into the ninth. So this could be communications with your father or teachers. Knowledge brings expense, but also courage. So there is this element of having some expenses and some loss and isolation of the 12th house, but also the third house is your courage and your effort. And so this could be difficult, but with it being in the ninth house is auspicious. It brings luck. It's favorable. It also is a house of ease. So these challenges, this confusion, anything that comes up like that should be easy to deal with. But with the fact that Mercury being retrograde is a time to rethink, to take it slow, to reevaluate, revisit. And so just be sure to not rush through anything, especially your communications during this time, and especially with communications around your willpower, your self-effort. Think about those things before you take actions with the retrograde energy being at play. All right, now on the 18th, we have Uranus going into Taurus. I said in my intro I wasn't going to do a breakout on this, but it is really important because Uranus goes into Taurus for the next 7 years. Now, Taurus for you is your 11th house, 10th house. Nope, 11th house. So this will be radical, innovative change in your house of achievement, in your house of friends and social circles. And this can be quite a time of breakthroughs for you, and as far as your goals that you make for yourself and how you define success. Now, on the 19th and the 20th, Moon will be in Scorpio. This is for everyone. Now, Scorpio for you is your 5th house. And so this could be a sensitive day, 2 days. It could be emotionally charged. You may not be feeling it. Now, Moon goes into Scorpio every month. So I'm just giving a heads up on these 2 days, because if you can avoid, doing any kind of socializing or any kind of event or anything like that you would plan, these 2 days may not be the best because you just may not be feeling it. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the 28th, there will be a new moon in Pisces, which is a solar eclipse. And so this is kind of like the beginning of an end, right? We've got Pisces being the last sign of the Zodiac, and we've got the eclipse always cutting out something and bringing an end to something, but also bringing in the space for the new beginning. And so for you, Cancer ascendant, Sun is your second house ruler, going into your 9th house. So there could be a new chapter in education, travel, or spirituality. There could be financial gains that can come through foreign sources or teaching. That's the 9th house there is some foreign travels. Your values and beliefs may shift, guiding you toward a higher path. And, this is also having to do with your intake, your food, your speech, and just your values in general. They could be shined a new light towards your higher learning and towards your beliefs. And it could also be bringing in resources from your father or from an authority figure. There could be some learning there. Now, we've got Saturn going into Pisces on the 29th, and this is huge. So Saturn is the planet of discipline and restructuring and boundaries. And for you, Cancer, Saturn rules the 7th and 8th house. So Saturn's ruling your relationships and sudden transformations. And this could be a very familiar energy for you. Relationships could always kind of feel transformative. But with Saturn going into your 9th house, this is going to bring focus towards that higher learning piece, that spiritual pursuit, where your beliefs are, where your philosophies stand. And with Saturn being the planet of discipline and structure and boundaries, he could also bring in some delays around this. So as much as we've talked about the bringing in of wisdom and knowledge and the higher learning, there could also be delays once Saturn comes in at the end of the month. And this could not feel good. A lot of times when you're working hard towards something and you just don't see the fruits of your efforts showing up, well, with Saturn, they are for sure going to be delayed. That's just how it is. But he wants you to make sure you're taking it slow and really thinking about these things, especially with it being your 9th house of beliefs. We act from our belief system. It's where we turn and stand and say, no, hey, I stand for this, right? This is my belief. And so it's really important that you feel firm in those beliefs and ideals. And with Saturn there, he's shaping it up. He's restructuring it. He's taking old things out, bringing new things in. And with him being the planet of your relationships and your 8th house of sudden transformation, this restructuring could involve your commitments and will be transformative. You can almost guarantee that, okay? So this will be a very transformative time for you, Cancer, with the month of March. Lots of transits going on. I really hope you found this helpful. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Leo Ascendant or Leo Moon, welcome. This is your March transit overview. And we're going to kick off the month with Venus retrograde on the 1st in Pisces. Now, Pisces is your 8th house of sudden changes, deep psychology, hidden knowledge, inheritance, other people's resources. And the 8th house is a Dashtana house. And so this simply means that it could be, there could be challenges, and typically change doesn't feel very good, especially when it's sudden and unexpected. And the 8th house is also a moksha house. So there is definitely some endings of cycles happening, and it is geared more towards the spiritual pursuit, the loss of the physical attachments in exchange for the spiritual attachments. And so that's where Pisces is for you, Leo. And with Venus going retrograde, it is exalted in Pisces, and Venus is your 10th house and 3rd house ruler. So there's going to be themes of your career and your self-effort in this transit. So in the 8th house, with your 10th and 3rd house ruler Venus, there could be some sudden career shifts to be aware of. There could also be, on the flip side, really, really deep creativity, right? So Venus brings beauty and love and appreciation. And in Pisces, she is very, very happy there. This is because the Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. It's expansive. There's no boundaries, right? Now, with Venus being retrograde, this just simply means that there's going to be some rethinking, some revisiting around these themes, and to just be more introspective and to reflect upon these things related to your relationships, your career, the effort that you're putting in. All of these things are being activated. Now, on the 13th to 14th, there is a full moon in Leo, and it's also a lunar eclipse. So there is a big culmination of something peaking here in the sign of Leo. And for you, this is your 1st house, Leo. So this is definitely a lunar eclipse for you. And with the full moon being there, the moon is your 12th house ruler. So we have the 12th house ruler in your 1st house. And this could be, this could bring personal revelations that change how you see yourself. There could be hidden emotions or subconscious patterns that come to light. And there could be a deep emotional release that may transform your entire self-image. So this is really big for you, Leo. This is really big. Now, we've got the sun going into Pisces on the very next day, on the 14th. And this is your 1st house ruler, the sun, going into the 8th house. So this is a time of change and transformation. And it may not feel good, but the lesson of the 8th house is to don't resist it. Don't fight it. If there's something that's wanting to leave, if there's something that's wanting to exit from your existence, from your environment, whether it be a person, place, or thing, if they're wanting to go, then let it. Don't resist it. Don't resist that change, because on the other side, when you go into your 9th house transit in the next month, there is going to be that open space for the new wisdom to come in. And so during this month, there will be some undoing, some uncovering, and some letting go, okay? Because the eighth house is a moksha house. And so there could be detachment, transformation taking place. And with it being a Dashtana house, there will be challenges as well. So it's really up to you, Leo, to embrace your confidence and your, that self identity that you carry, the way that you express yourself, and bring that in and let those transformations take place with ease. Let them flow like water, okay? Now, with the very next day, we've got the 15th of March. Mercury will be retrograde. And so if you watch the intro, you'll know that Mercury and Venus are our personal planets. So whenever they go retrograde, this could have a lot of effect on our lives personally. And so Mercury is the planet of our intellect, it's our thinking mind, it's where we reason and make have discretions and make discriminations and have discernment around things. And it's also where our ideas come in and how we communicate them. And so with Mercury being retrograde, and I'm sure you've heard the lore of Mercury retrograde, it's like, all of the technology goes haywire. Don't, sign any kind of contracts, don't buy a house, don't buy a car. And those could be very true, but in general, it's just a time to be cautious. Take it slow, because there is a high chance that you may be redoing the thing that you committed to during this retrograde period, especially with Venus being there, the planet of commitments. So Mercury for you is your 11th and second house ruler going into the 8th. So this can show your skills and your communication, give gains and income through sudden events. So because you have that connection between the two money houses, the 11th and second house, Mercury is a money planet for you. And so there could be some hidden information, some sort of, especially with the 8th house being other people's money. So this could be investments, this could be inheritance, anything like that. And just the nature of the 8th house is sudden, so just keep mind of that. All right, now we've got the next day on the 18th, we'll have Uranus going into Taurus. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Uranus in the breakout videos, but this is huge. So Uranus transits into Taurus and will be there for the next 7 years. And Taurus for you is your 10th house. So there will be this innovation, this radical nature of Uranus in your 10th house of career. You can think of Uranus as being like a higher vibration of Mercury, where this is our planet of intellect and thinking and reasoning. And so Uranus being there in your 10th house is going to bring some breakthroughs in your career. Okay, so very exciting time, especially with your career being the house of the sign of Taurus. This could bring comfort and security and those sorts of things that are really important to you anyways. Now on the 19th, the moon goes into Scorpio, and for about 2.5 days, he'll be there. This is happening for everyone. And for you, Scorpio, for you, Leo, this is your 4th house. So this could be bringing in some vulnerability and some emotions into the home, into your home life, maybe with your relationship with your mother, or just overall how you're nurturing your emotional connections. And so with Moon being in Scorpio, he's debilitated there. So it's just a good time to take it easy. Don't put a lot of stress on yourself. And if you can, if you're watching this in enough time, try not to make any events or planning any events on these days. All right, so on the 28th, there is a new moon in Pisces, which is also a solar eclipse. So this is what I'm calling kind of the beginning of an end. So new moons are typically beginnings, but we're in the sign of Pisces, which is this ending cycle. And then also the eclipse is this type of cutting out, ending, beginning type energy. And so for you, Leo, the sun is your first house. And with it going into the 8th, there is going to be some deep transformations. This will be around your identity, around your shared resources. You may even undergo an emotional or a financial rebirth. So this is major change for you. Let go of old patterns to empower your personal and financial future. So this is the time to, if you can, do that shadow work. But with it being an eclipse, the day of the eclipse, take that day, easy. Try not to do anything too adventurous or take any big risks that day. Just take it easy. And then once the eclipse passes, then you can focus on that new moon energy, set intentions, really, make a wish, ask for those transformations to occur so that you can let that newness come in. Now, on the 29th, there will be another big shift. Saturn is going into Pisces for the next 2.5 years. Saturn is the planet of discipline, delay, restriction, boundaries, and whatever house he goes into, he restructures that house. He reshapes it up, right? And if there's anything out of place, out of line, he lines it up. He makes sure everything's good, takes out the bad stuff, brings in the new, and it's a very slow process. And so for some that may feel just, not good. But the lesson of Saturn is to keep at it. It's the discipline, it's the consistency. And for you, Saturn is your 6th house and 7th house ruler. So this is definitely about your effort, doing the hard work, doing the work that's not fun. And also it's related to your relationships. So there will be a restructuring of your relationships. Perhaps there will be restructuring and sudden transformations, right? This is your 8th house. But maybe it'll be through your relationships that these transformations happen. It'll be through your hard work, effort, and daily routines. 6th house is also the house of your health and service. So keep an eye on your health. And, make sure that you're eating proper and you're not taking in any toxins that could really be detrimental. I wouldn't recommend it. All right. So I hope this was helpful for you, Leo. And with that being said, I hope you have a great March and I will see you in the next video. Virgo Ascendant, Virgo Moon, welcome. This is your March overview. And we're going to kick off the month with Venus turning retrograde on the 1st in the sign of Pisces. So first, let's look at Pisces for you because there's a lot of energy going on with Pisces this month. And for you, Virgo, this is your 7th house of relationships, marriage, and spouse. And the 7th house is a karma house. And this is dealing with your desires, your relationships, and sensual pleasures, right? The things that smell good, taste good, feel good. And the 7th house is also a Kendra house. So it's one of the 4 foundational houses. So anytime you have a transit through a Kendra house, it's going to have a lot of impact. It's going to be transformative in that way that it affects a foundational part of your life. And this is really important for the stability in your relationships. So Venus turning retrograde on the 1st, Venus is your 9th house and 2nd house ruler going into your 7th house. So there could be you could be valuing others' opinions. There could be higher learning and values through relationship. And it also could bring in more speech into your relationships, right? Not necessarily communication, but that inner voice in your relationship, something that you may not actually say out loud, but just think to yourself. 2nd house is also the head, thinking. And with the Venus being the ninth house ruler, this is showing themes of even your father or just a teacher or anything that's bringing in higher learning, maybe your pursuits in a university or college, or just some additional learning that you're taking in. And the ninth house also represents long distance travel. So these could be themes here where you could take a long trip with your spouse or partner during this time. But with Venus being retrograde, it just simply means that it's a time to rethink and revisit these themes, especially in regards to your relationship. And especially because Venus is the karaka of relationships, this will be a dominant theme for you, Virgo. Now, Venus is a personal planet, and we'll talk about the Mercury retrograde coming up soon because that's your ruling planet. But just in general for the month, Venus retrograde is going to be focused around your resources and your higher learning and how those are interconnected with your relationships. Okay, now on the 13th and going into the 14th, we've got a full moon in Leo, and this is a lunar eclipse. And so for you, Virgo, this is happening in your 12th house. And the moon is your 11th house ruler. So this is the 11th house ruler going into the 12th house. So there could be emotional endings within friendships or social networks. And you may step away from an old group or from an old dream or aspiration that you've had. And really embracing the solitude and that introspective part of yourself will bring the emotional healing. And anytime there's a 12th house transit, especially a full moon in the 12th house, it can be highly emotional because that 12th house is the house of expense and losses. But it's all about your perspective on things, right? So is it really a loss if it's a spiritual gain? And so that's something to think about. Now on the 14th, pretty much right after this eclipse, Sun is going to move into Pisces and join the group, join your 7th house party that's going on. And so the Sun, wherever it transits, will bring a focus and awareness to that area of life. So you've definitely got relationships in the forefront this month. A lot of transformation happening with relationships, through relationships. It's all that sort of thing. Now, Sun for you is your 12th house ruler. So we've got the 12th house ruler going into the 7th house. So this could bring in expenses in regards to your relationship. And also because Sun represents your confidence naturally, there could be some confidence, additional confidence brought into your relationships. So just be mindful of that. Now on the 15th, we've got Mercury going retrograde. So like I was saying earlier, Mercury is your 1st house ruler, but it's also your 10th house ruler. So this is going to be bringing in themes of you, yourself, your physical body, but also your career. And whenever Mercury goes retrograde, it's a great time to just slow down, rethink things, reevaluate before you make a decision, because you're likely to change your mind during a retrograde period, or the change may even come afterwards, which can lead to, regrets and that sort of thing. And so with Mercury being your 10th house ruler and your 1st house ruler, there could be curiosity, there could be communications, and just an overall level of ambition brought into your relationships that's also really reflective and introspective because of that retrograde period. So now we've got Uranus going into Taurus on the 18th. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Uranus in the breakout videos, but this is going to be happening in a very auspicious house for you. This is your 9th house, Virgo. And so this will be about higher learning, wisdom and knowledge coming in. There's going to be breakthroughs around your beliefs. There's going to be innovation around the higher learning and information you've got coming in. And so this could be a time where you meet a new teacher, a new guru. This could also be a theme around your father, because the ninth house represents father as well. But these breakthroughs, this innovation is going to feel easy because of this ninth house transit. And this is just something to keep in mind. Also, with it being Taurus, there could be themes of your resources and comforts and security, food, luxury items, that sort of thing. And it could be a really, really awesome 7-year transit with Uranus there. So I may do a breakout video of Uranus in more detail, but for now, that's the general scope for you. This is a 7-year transit in your ninth house, so just keep that in mind. All right, on the 19th, Moon will be going into Scorpio. This is happening across the board. Moon is debilitated in Scorpio, and so for the 19th and the 20th, these could just be days where you kind of feel blah, not really feeling it. Right, so the moon for you is your 11th house and 11th house ruler. And so this could be, vulnerabilities around your expectations and achievements. And just keep that in mind. Don't plan anything if you can help it. You may not be feeling your best on these days, the 19th and 20th. Now, on the 28th, there will be a new moon solar eclipse in Pisces. This is the beginning of an end. And I say that because new moons are like a beginning, right? It's usually a time where we manifest and set intentions. But with it being a solar eclipse, that day of isn't really going to be conducive to that. And then the energy of Pisces is the last sign of the cycle. And so there is this ending, this completion of a cycle taking place, this kind of death, rebirth theme. All right. And so for you, Virgo, Sun is your 12th house. So there is these themes of spirituality, but also some expenses. This could be themes of solitude and also feelings of loss. But it's the feelings of loss stem from the material attachments or the emotional attachments in exchange for spiritual attachments. And so that process can feel kind of difficult, especially with it, the sun being your 12th house lord, 12th house ruler. There's always a bit of confusion associated with the 12th house. So just take it easy on the day of the eclipse. Don't do anything super adventurous or, take any big risks. But then the day after, go ahead and make those new moon wishes, especially in regards to your 7th house of relationships. This could be around your spouse or your marriage, or you can wish for marriage if you're not in a relationship. So there could be changes or new beginnings in a relationship or partnership, and a significant relationship may end or may begin. So this is kind of a up in the air time right now. So there also could be some hidden aspects of your relationships that may be revealed to you during this time that bring clarity or closure. It may even come to you in a dream, which don't we love that? Don't we love interpreting our dreams? Now, on the 29th of the month, all of this Pisces energy, and then here comes Saturn. Saturn's going to enter into Pisces, and he's going to slow things down. He's going to bring in restriction and try to shape things up in your relationships. This is your 7th house. Now, Saturn is your 5th and 6th house ruler. So this is showing your personal identity and expression, as well as the planet of your efforts and just hard work, daily routine, things that aren't necessarily fun, but you have to do them. And then also health-related themes. So Saturn is going to be bringing discipline and challenges in your relationships for the next 2.5 years. So yeah, with your 5th house ruler being there, it may not feel happy, right? It could kind of be, and I hate to use the D word, the depressing word, but it could feel a bit depressing. But I want to just give you some words of encouragement. Saturn is reshaping this house of relationships for you. So if there is an ending, then it's supposed to be that way, okay? There is something new on the horizon that has to be coming in, and you have to have change in order for that newness to come in. And so the more you flow with the change, the less painful it will be. The more you are attached to these themes related to your relationship, the harder that change will be. So just know that you've got Saturn there for the next 2.5 years. He's going to be changing things. He's going to be shaping things up, and it's for the best, but it just may not feel great. But keep at it, okay? Don't stop. Saturn's all about discipline and consistency. So you may not see or feel the results now, but they will be coming, okay? It's guaranteed. All right? Now, I hope that is helpful for you, Virgo, for your monthly overview. And if you haven't checked out your moon sign, go ahead and check that out too. And with that being said, I will see you in the next Libra video. Ascendant or Libra moon. This is your March overview report. So we'll kick off the month with Venus going retrograde on the 1st in Pisces. Now, Pisces for you is your 6th house. Now, the 6th house is a Dashtana house. It's a house of challenges and overcoming problems. It's also the house of daily routines, your health, your service to others. It also can represent coworkers, enemies, litigation with legal pursuits and that sort of thing, debts, just in general, things that aren't necessarily fun but kind of have to be dealt with. And the 6th house is also an Upachaya house. And so this just means that it increases and improves over time. So anything that transits through the 6th house will improve from where it began. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, with Venus going retrograde in your 6th house, Venus is your 8th and 1st house ruler. So this is very important because anytime a first house planet, your ruling planet, your lagna, your ascendant, anytime that is transiting the 6th house, it can just feel like a bummer. It can feel like dreaded, just like having to do the grind, do the hard work, things that aren't fun. And so there could be those feelings there. But with Venus, with it being the planet of Venus, she naturally represents beauty and love and compassion and relationships. And she's exalted in Pisces. So this is the highest form of the planet that you can ask for. And so that will help with these energies that seem to be more challenging. So there, with Venus being there as your 8th and 1st house lord, there could also be a lot of transformations, that 8th house energy. So we're dealing with sudden transformations going into your daily routines. That's how I'm reading this. But with it being Venus, she could be bringing beauty to your physical appearance, and there could be a transformation in your health. And it could also bring in some tensions in relationships because Venus does represent relationships in general. And whenever that planet goes into the 6th house, can show where there's some work or effort or even service needed in your relationship. So just keep these things in mind. Now, with Venus being retrograde, it's a time to rethink, revisit, reevaluate. How are you feeling appreciated? Are your efforts that you're doing, is your daily routine working? What kind of shifts and changes can you make as far as that goes that will align better with your value system? Now, on the 13th, there will be a full moon in Leo. This is a lunar eclipse. Now, Leo for you is your 11th house, and the moon is your 10th house. So we've got your 10th house ruler going into the 11th house. So this is fantastic. This is your career going into your house of gains. So this is going to be reaping the rewards, right? Reaping the fruit that you've sown from the last transit in the 10th house, these are your recognitions turning into achievements, right? You're going to feel successful, and it's going to feel like you're meeting those expectations that you've had for yourself and meeting those goals. So the full moon in general is an emotional time, and the moon for you is your 10th house ruler. So you're pretty familiar with having emotions in your career. That's just kind of how it is for you, right? That's your karma. And so there could be culminations or realizations in your social circles that are perhaps work related as well. Or your friendships or your long-term goals. You may even gain recognition or leave a group that no longer aligns with your future visions. This is because the full moon is a representation of an ending, and if you will, it's a time to reflect back and look and see if there's any changes that need to be made. But also the full moon can show a completion. It's the maximum light of the moon. It's the brightest it's going to be. There's really no more growth happening after this cycle. It goes into a waning phase. And so this is a time where you look and reflect on that, and it could represent an ending in that way because of the eclipse. Now, there will be Sun going into Pisces on the 14th. This is very, very close to the full moon. Moments after, Sun is going to hop over into Pisces and join the group in your 6th house. So Sun represents your soul, your vitality, your confidence. It can also represent leadership, authority, and your father figure. And with this transit, Sun is your 11th house ruler going into your 6th house. So this is showing gains through your effort, but workplace issues with authority. And this could be, maybe some disagreements with your boss or with coworkers. It could also just bring confidence issues to light in this transit. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the very next day on the 15th, Mercury is going to go retrograde. So if you watch the intro, you know that Mercury and Venus are both going retrograde this month. These are our personal planets, and so it's going to feel personal. So for you, with it being in the 6th house, this is a time to slow down, reflect on your efforts, reflect on the daily routine that you have. Is this something that you can reassess? Now, Mercury represents our intellect, our thinking mind. And whenever it goes retrograde, the lore, all the technology goes haywire. Plans and coordinations just go out the window. It's not a good time to buy a house or sign a contract, right? So for you, Mercury is your 9th and 12th house ruler. And going into the 6th house, this is showing themes around communication and possible sleep struggles, with that 12th house being there. The 12th house represents sleep, could be disturbed sleep. And also, I've got down here foreign knowledge. So this is kind of nuanced, but that is the 9th and the 12th house blending together. So Mercury for you could bring in wisdom and knowledge from a foreign source, and it's going to be brought into your 6th house where you process it, right? Where you overcome any challenges and you learn how to control what you can control in that area. So on the next few days after that, after Mercury goes retrograde, we've got Uranus entering into Taurus for the next 7 years. And for you, Libra, Taurus is your 8th house of hidden knowledge, transformation. And so Uranus being the planet of innovation and rebellion, radical change, there's going to be some sort of breakthrough transformation that will take place in the next 7 years. Unfortunately, that's how broad it is because Uranus transits a sign for about 7 years at a time. And he's already gone retrograde out of Taurus back into Aries, and now he's re-entering Taurus and will be going direct. And this is your 8th house. So there will be some change. It will feel sudden. So just keep that in mind. Now, with it being Taurus, this could be themes of your resources. It could be your speech or food. It could be the things that you value or give value to. It could be related to your sense of security and stability as well. So there could be a shakeup there over the next several years. Depending on what your other planets are, will give you more of an insight. But just keep that in mind. There is that breakthrough energy in your 8th house of sudden transformation. Now, on the 19th and the 20th, Moon will be going into Scorpio, and this is where Moon is debilitated. So this is happening for everyone, and for you, Libra, this is your 2nd house of speech, of food, and it's kind of similar to that Taurus energy. But this is a good day or two to just take it easy. Don't plan a lot if you can help it. Just in general, the mind doesn't really feel like dealing with much whenever it's in Scorpio. And so with it being in your 2nd house, it could also be dealing with issues with your family and that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the 28th, there will be a new moon in Pisces, and this is also a solar eclipse. So with most new moons, it's a time to set intentions and make wishes and goals. But with it being an eclipse, the day of, we're going to really just take it easy, okay? So for you, this eclipse is activating your 6th house, and the sun is your 11th house ruler. So this is your 11th house going into the 6th house. So this could be gains through your effort, but workplace issues with authority, right? But since since the light of the sun is being eclipsed out and the light of the moon is not there because it's a new moon, there could also be new opportunities in work or themes related to how you provide service to others or issues related to your health. You may start a new job or adopt a healthier lifestyle, or you could redefine your daily habits. There's going to be something that gets cut out. So there's going to be some sort of expectation that you've had because the sun ruling the 11th house. 11th house is kind of like our expectations. It's where we get validated. And there could be an expectation that gets cut out, especially pertaining to your daily routines, daily habits, and that sort of thing. But also, sun brings confidence into this area, and so that'll be very beneficial as well. Now, on the 29th, the sun will enter into Pisces, and he will stay into Pisces for the next 2.5 years. So this is huge. Now, Saturn for you is a very special planet. Saturn rules your 4th and 5th house. Now, this is called a Yoga Karaka. Whenever Saturn or whenever a planet rules an angle house, which is 1, 4, 7, or 10, and a trine house, which is 1, 5, or 9. So for you, Saturn is ruling your 4th house and your 5th house, and is going into your 6th house. So what we see here is that your hard work pays off. There may be struggles with your routine, but there will be peace of mind through your creative work, okay? And Saturn loves the 6th house because the 6th house is about doing what you're supposed to do. And Saturn loves that. He's no frills. He's all about discipline and hard work. So this will be a very productive 2.5 years for you. I will do a breakout video, and I don't think I've said this with any of the other signs, but I will do a breakout video for Saturn in Pisces, and we'll look at the aspects that he's casting onto Taurus and Sagittarius as well. So that'll be your 3rd and 8th house also being activated with this Saturn transit. So yeah, so keep that in mind. All right, Libra. Well, I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Scorpio Ascendant or Scorpio Moon, this is your March 2025 overview. So we're going to kick off the month with Venus going retrograde in Pisces. Now, Pisces for you is your 5th house. So let's take a look at Pisces because there's a lot of energy transiting into Pisces this month. And this is activating your 5th house of creativity, children, romance, speculative gains, these sorts of things. It's a creative house. It's an intelligent house. And being a Dharma house, it deals with your life purpose and it brings in wisdom and knowledge. And it's kind of a house of destiny, if you will. It's a lot of luck. Things that transit through the 5th house flow with ease. And so there's not a lot of struggle here. So we'll take a look at these transits now with Venus going retrograde on the 1st in Pisces, your 5th house. Venus is your 7th and 12th house ruler. So themes of relationship and themes of expenses are going to be in your 5th house. So this could be dealing with creativity, romantic love. You could have inspirational dreams. You know, Venus brings themes of love and beauty and relationship into your 5th house. This could be a beautiful time for romance, for starting a new relationship. This could be a beautiful time for having, like a vacation, going on a trip to a foreign land with your children, for instance. Kind of specific, but these are the energies that are here. Now, with Venus being retrograde, it's a time to rethink, reevaluate themes related to your relationship, especially in regard to your children or in your creativity, how you express yourself. Now, on the 13th, there will be a full moon in Leo, and this will be a lunar eclipse, a full moon lunar eclipse. Now, for you, the moon is your 9th house ruler, and this will be in Leo, which is your 10th house of career. So we could be seeing major shifts in career, your reputation, or your public image. A career chapter may end for you, or you may receive recognition for past efforts. Your professional path becomes clearer. And this is because you've got that 9th house wisdom, right? The teacher, the father, the guru coming in. This higher learning is going into your career. So there's some sort of lesson that you're learning here. And with the full moon at play and it being a lunar eclipse, there's some sort of cycle ending completion that is taking place. Now, on the very next day, on the 14th, we have Sun entering into Pisces, joining the group. Sun is your 10th house ruler, going into your 5th. So we have some of that career, reputation themes going on, your public status, and it's going to go into your creative house. So there's this sense of authority in your creativity, or maybe even a sense of authority with your children. And there's also some ambition around your imagination and those sorts of things. So this can be a very good transit for you. The Sun is purifying these themes related to your creativity and your self-expression. So he's bringing those themes to the forefront, shining a spotlight on them. And this could be a good time. This could be a very transformational time as well. Now, Mercury goes retrograde the very next day on the 15th in Pisces. So if you watch the intro, you know that Mercury and Venus are both personal planets. And when they go retrograde, it's going to be a very personal impact. So for you, Mercury is your 8th and 11th house ruler going into the 5th house. So this is your intellect and your skill and creativity being inspired by transformation, change, and your friends. So these are kind of the themes to think about. And with Mercury retrograde, you may know it's like, hey, technology is going to go haywire, communications are going to go haywire. And a lot of that is true, but really the remedy here for Mercury retrograde is just to take it slow. Make sure you're double checking things, and with it being in your fifth house, there is a little bit of leeway here of the, your kind of creative license. And so just take it easy. Don't think too hard about it. You may have a hard time being creative in certain days, but just don't overthink it. That's kind of the lesson that I'm seeing here for you, especially with Mercury being your eighth house ruler. There will be some transformations in your in the mind, in what you're thinking, and how maybe you think creatively, or how you create in general if you are like an artist or a creative type. Also with your reasoning, if you're not so creative, it could be just your reasoning and how you process, not process, but how you interpret, how you imagine things to be. All right, so then we've got Uranus going into Taurus on the 18th. And for you, Scorpio, Uranus or Taurus is your seventh house. So this is bringing radical change, some rebellion, and there's going to be some sort of breakthrough related to your relationships, and your marriage and partnerships. Now, I've read a few books on Uranus, and when it transits the seventh house, it could be the end of a relationship. So the best thing to do is to make sure that the transit is complete before you really make any big changes. Now, with Uranus being 7 years in Taurus, you may not be able to wait 7 years, but I just want to put that point out that there is some radical things happening in your relationships with Uranus being there for the next 7 years, and to not be hasty, to really think things through. Maybe wait till after Mercury and Venus aren't retrograde, and just make sure that you're thinking things through. I think I've already said that. All right. Then we'll go into the 19th and 20th, where Moon will be in your first house. And this is a very familiar energy for you. You are familiar with emotions, being vulnerable when they're in your first house. You feel them very personally. And so this is just a great time to rest and not put yourself out there too much, not put too many expectations on yourself. Just for the 19th and 20th, if you can, just avoid making any big plans or presentations, because you may not be feeling up for it. I know if I make plans too far ahead in advance, by the time I get to that day, I'm like, I don't feel good anymore. And so that's kind of one of those days, the 19th and the 20th. All right, then on the 28th, there is a new moon in Pisces. This is a solar eclipse. Okay, so I've labeled this the beginning of an end, because we've got the new moon there, right? New moon is typical new energy, new cycle, a new beginning, but we're in the sign of Pisces, which is the final sign of the zodiac and indicates the ending of a cycle. Then on top of that, the eclipse is going to quite literally eclipse something out of your life. So where is this taking place? Well, for you, Scorpio, the sun is your 10th house ruler going into your 5th house. So there could be creative projects or romantic pursuits that reach a turning point. You may experience a breakthrough of self-expression or joy, especially at work. And children or personal passions could become central themes. Now, something that isn't jiving with these themes is going to be eclipsed out. So you may already have a feeling of what that is, especially with Sun being your 10th house ruler. You may have some things going on at work or in your professional career that need to be changed, that need a change, okay? And with it being in your 5th house, it'll be some sort of creative channel, okay? Now, on the 29th, we have Saturn entering into Pisces. This is huge. So Saturn will be in Pisces for the next 2.5 years. He's done retrograding back into Aquarius. He's in Pisces and will be there for a little while. So Saturn is discipline, he's boundaries, he's restriction and delay. And this is your 3rd and 4th house ruler going into your 5th house. So it could be hardworking, it could bring some emotions, but there will be a slow creative success. It could be courageous and an emotional all at the same time. So there's showing effort, there's showing emotional connection going into your creativity. This is great. You may not see progress at first, you may not see the results at first, but stick with it. You've got a while to go over the next 2.5 years. Saturn is reshaping this house of creativity for you. And with all the other planetary energies going on, this can be quite energetic. It could be also kind of confusing. Think of it like just a bunch of people all talking at the same time in the same room. It could be hard to discern what you should be listening to, I should say. So with Saturn being your 3rd house ruler, there is that effort, that hard work, that discipline, and the emotional connections of the 4th house ruler. This is going to be a good transit for you, but there will be a lot of work and effort. But it will be a time for you to express yourself in a new way once this transit is over. So you may actually be dealing with some creative ruts. You may not be feeling very creative. And this could be because Saturn's in your 5th house. But it is a slow progress. He's working things out. He's restructuring this house for you so that you can move on to the next bigger and better thing. So just keep that in mind. It may be slow going for the next 2.5 years, but Saturn wants you to stay disciplined and wants you to be consistent. That is the key, especially with effort. All right. Well, with that being said, I hope you have an awesome March, and I will see you in the next video. Sagittarius, this is your March overview for 2025. We're going to kick off the month with Venus going retrograde on the 1st in Pisces in your 4th house. So let's look at the 4th house for you because Pisces is getting a lot of attention this month. And the 4th house for you is a Kendra house. So the Kendra house is an angle house, and it just means that it's one of the 4 foundational houses in a chart. And this just means that it's going to have an impact, okay? It's going to feel like you're going to be getting some experiences whenever there's a Kendra transit. Now, the 4th house is also a moksha house. And so this could be a sensitive, vulnerable house where our emotional connections are attached. And there is this sense of letting go in order to pursue the spiritual journey. And so the moksha energy is all about flowing like water, not resisting to the change. Now, with Venus being retrograde in your 4th house, Venus is your 6th and 11th house ruler. So Venus is naturally the karaka of beauty and love and relationships. And for you, she also rules the house of hard work, health, and your successes and achievements, your friendships, your goals. Okay, so these are a lot of things being activated. And with Venus retrograde in Pisces, this is in your 4th house of where you make emotional connections. It's also your home, your personal space. The 4th house represents the mother and this nourishing, nurturing energy. So there's beauty and hard work and gains that are bringing in peace of mind for you. The 4th house is where we find peace of mind. So Venus there is going to be bringing the beauty, but with it being retrograde, it's going to be bringing in some introspection. So it's a time to reevaluate, revisit themes of your relationships and your commitments in regard to your emotional connections. So in other words, there may be some changes and shifts around your value system and what and how you feel appreciated in relationships, especially how emotionally attached you are to those ideas. Now, on the 13th, going into the 14th, we'll have a full moon in Leo, and this is a lunar eclipse. Now, for you, Sagittarius, the moon is your 8th house ruler, and this is going into your 9th house. So emotional transformations around beliefs, travel, or higher education could occur, and you may complete a course of study or resolve a legal matter. That's awesome. So old philosophies may fall away, making space for new wisdom. So if you look at the chart, when you have an 8th to 9th house transit, that is all about letting go to let in. It's about finding out the hidden, uncovered information that takes you into higher learning and where you can feel rooted in your beliefs. And so when we have this full moon energy, which is kind of like the ending of a cycle, it's the brightest moon. It's when we're reflecting on what the new moon lessons we're bringing in. This can be quite an emotional time for you, but also a very spiritual time. So like I was saying with this moksha energy, even though this is in your 9th house, your moon is a moksha ruler. It rules the 8th house. 8th house is also moksha. Okay. So then on the next day, we've got Sun going into Pisces, and this is going to bring light and focus into your 4th house for the next month. So the Sun is our strength, it's our ego, it's our soul, it's the Atmakaraka. And Sun is also our confidence. So there's going to be this connection with confidence and emotions going together. But for you, Sun is your 9th house ruler. So that represents your father, your teachers, your gurus, your higher learning. And it's going into your house of emotional connections. So there could be a strong connection with your father or higher learning within the home. So these are some themes to look out for. Now, on the very next day, the 15th, Mercury is going retrograde in your 4th house. Now, Mercury for you is your 7th and 10th house ruler. These are both Kendra houses. And so this will be an impactful transit for you. It's going to feel significant. So the 7th house represents relationships. The 10th house represents your career. So these two areas of life are going to be going into your 4th house of emotional connections. So there could be career and partnership focus at home, or even running your business from home. If you work from home or run a business, you may be doing that on these days or during this time. And the fact that Mercury is retrograde, this is definitely a time to slow down and double check the boxes. Make sure before you hit send on that email. And it's a time to just be wary of the fact that you may change your mind, especially regarding relationships and especially regarding career. Just take it slow. Don't jump in. Don't be too hasty. And the answers and the clarity will come. Just you have to weed through those emotions. With it being in your 4th house, it may be extra emotional. Okay. Now, we've got Uranus going into Taurus. I know I said I wasn't going to do the Uranus transit in the breakouts, but on the 18th, Uranus goes into Taurus for 7 years, the next 7 years. And he's already retrograded back into Aries, and now he's going to be in Taurus for the long haul. So for the next 7 years. Now, this is your 6th house of health and obstacles, enemies, daily routines, debt. And so there's going to be some sort of innovation, some sort of breakthrough taking place in this area of life for you. And with it being Taurus, it's also going to have themes of stability and comfort. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the 19th and the 20th, we've got Moon transiting through the sign of Scorpio. And this is for everyone, just in general. These 2 days are not very good days emotionally. It's where the moon is debilitated. You may not be feeling that great. So just keep that in mind when you're planning to possibly avoid those days that require a lot of socializing or being out on the world stage. Now, on the 28th, we've got a new moon in Pisces. This is a solar eclipse. This is huge. So I'm calling this the beginning of an end because we've got the beginning energy of the new moon, but the ending of a cycle energy of Pisces. And then to add to that, the solar eclipse is literally eclipsing something out. So we'll look at where this is for you. This is in your 4th house, right? So the sun is your 9th house ruler. And with this taking place, we've got shifts around the home, the family life, and just your emotional foundations in general. There could be a relocation or a significant family change may occur. Spiritual insights could help you redefine what security means to you. So this is definitely a good transit. It's just going to be some change with the eclipse energy taking place. But with that 9th house sun coming in, there's going to be guidance. There's going to be wisdom and new knowledge. So make sure you're connecting with that newness that comes in. Now, with it being a solar eclipse, the day of, try to avoid any adventures or taking any big risks that day. But then the very next day, go ahead and make those new moon wishes and set new intentions for themes related to your emotional connections, themes that are related to the home and where you find your peace of mind. Now, on the 29th, we've got Saturn finally entering into Pisces for good. This is your 2nd and 3rd house ruler going into your 4th house. So there could be pressure and effort, an increase of pressure and effort in the home at this time. There could be additional restructuring of boundaries with the mother. And this could be, this could be related to family issues, especially with Saturn being your 2nd house ruler. So there's family, mother, there's some sort of restructuring going on with the family and the home, and it's going to take your effort. So there's going to be effort there, and you're going to feel pressure and responsibility. So there could be extra responsibility. Now, it's going to feel like it's taking forever for any kind of progress to happen. That's just because Saturn is super slow and likes to be methodical, and he takes the long way. Okay, really make sure he's cleaning out all the junk before moving on to the next phase. So just keep that in mind over the next 2.5 years. I will probably do a breakout video. In fact, I know I will do a breakout video of the Saturn in Pisces, and we'll look at where these transits are taking place in regards to the aspects as well, because Saturn will be aspecting Taurus and Sagittarius. And so for you, that's your 1st house and your 6th house as well. So you're going to be really feeling this Saturn pressure specifically. And so I really wish that you have a good March. And I hope this was helpful for you. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Capricorn Ascendant or Capricorn Moon, welcome to your March 2025 overview. Today we're going to kick it off with Venus going retrograde on the 1st in Pisces. Now, Pisces for you is your 3rd house. So let's take a look at your 3rd house, because there's a lot of Pisces energy and transits going on for this month. Now, the 3rd house represents your courage, your self-effort. It's also a house of siblings and your skills in communication, your ideas, and the things that you're interested in. And with it being in Pisces, there is this blend of expansion and effort being seen here, which is really interesting. So the third house is a comma house, and comma is simply means it's attached to the air element, and it simply means it's dealing with your desires, your self-expression, communication, the pleasures that you have in life, having fun and just enjoying life in general. And it's also, the third house is an upachaya house. So this means that it improves over time. Things and planets that transit through the third house will improve and increase over time. And it's effort based. All right, so with Venus retrograde in Pisces in your third house, Venus is your 5th and 10th house ruler. So we're dealing with your creativity and your work. Okay, so there could be creative writing and artistic self-expression. There could be, a beautification in the workplace, just to keep it very generic. But there is also themes of relationship and diplomacy with Venus. So there could be compromise and agreements taking place at work and that sort of thing. And it's going to be related to your efforts always with the third house. Now, with Venus being retrograde, that just simply means it's a time to rethink, revisit these themes of your relationships in regard to your 5th and 10th house. So this can be relationships with your children, relationships with your creativity, relationships with your work, your boss, your coworkers, these sorts of things, or the actions that you're taking out in the world, your professional reputation, your status. Now, there will be a full moon on the 13th going into the 14th in Leo. This is also a lunar eclipse. So this is your 7th house ruler moon going into the 8th house of Leo. So 8th house is a transformational house. It's a moksha house. It's a hidden information house. And so with the full moon there, it's going to bring a lot of emotions. It's also going to be the completion of something. Okay, the full moons represent some sort of culmination or ending of a thing. And so there's deep emotional shifts in your shared finances, in your intimacy, or inheritance matters. A relationship may transform or reach a point of closure, and you may resolve debts or shared resource issues. So there is quite a big theme with your relationship and perhaps the resources and money from your spouse or partner. There's themes here. There will be some sort of emotional closure as well. And so those are things to reflect on in regard to this full moon lunar eclipse in your 8th house. Now, on the 14th, the very next day, Sun's going into Pisces. So it's going to join the group. Sun for you is your 8th house ruler, and it's going to go into your 3rd house. So this is showing transformation through effort. You're going to have to work hard in order for you to see the change. You're going to have to work hard to get through the change. And there could also be, with this 3rd house energy, potential issues with your siblings. So that's something to keep in mind. But with the sun in consideration here, there is always confidence. So the sun is bringing confidence into this area, into this 3rd house of your effort. So that's really going to be helpful in this month's transit. Now, on the 15th, Mercury goes retrograde. So if you watch the intro, you'll know that Mercury and Venus are both our personal planets, and they'll be retrograde for most of the month. And this is, Mercury retrograde is dealing with your communications, your skills, your ability to reason and think logically. And Mercury for you is your 6th and 9th house ruler going into your 3rd house. So communication and sharing your beliefs and processing through writing or social media, all of these things could be themes at this time. Now, with Mercury being retrograde, it's just a good time to take it easy, take it slow, don't rush through. Make sure you're double checking before you hit send. Make sure that you know that things could change once the retrograde is over. That's kind of the idea with Mercury, is that things are up for change. Something may not be solidified until after the retrograde. Now, with Mercury being your 6th house ruler, there's going to be, in your 3rd, there's going to be hard work here, a lot of hard work, and possibly things that aren't really fun, but it's going to take your effort to do them, especially in regards to a daily routine, maybe in regards to your health. So you may have to exhibit some effort in order to maintain your health during this month. So keep an eye on that. And then also with your efforts will come higher learning. That's the 9th house. Also could be bringing in influence from your father as well, or teachers. Now on the 18th, we have a big transit of Uranus going into Taurus. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it in the intro, but this is a big 7-year transit, and I have it on the list. So Taurus for you is your 5th house. So there's going to be some radical innovation regarding your happiness, okay? Your mind, your imagination, also with your children. So 5th house is representative of your children. And so there's going to be some sort of breakthrough in this regard. And for the next 7 years, Uranus will be in Taurus, your 5th house, but Taurus is also indicating stability and resources and comfort and that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. I may do a breakout video for Uranus, but for now, just know that these themes, this kind of radicalization of life happening, is taking place in your 5th house, which could be dealing with your creativity, your imagination, your romance, or even dealing with your children. Now on the 19th and the 20th, moon's going to be in Scorpio. Scorpio is where the moon is debilitated. So just keep that in mind. These few days or a couple of days will not feel so good. So just try to avoid doing any big plans or events on these days. You may not be feeling up to it. Now on the 28th, there is a new moon in Pisces, and this is a solar eclipse. This is really big. This is a beginning of an end, and that's because I'm calling this solar eclipse, which is a new moon. So the new moon is typically a beginning cycle, but it's in Pisces, which is an ending cycle as the last sign of the zodiac. And then we've got this solar eclipse activity happening where the eclipse is literally cutting something out to let the new in. Okay, so for you, this is your 8th ruler in the 3rd. And so there could be sudden changes in your communication with your siblings or with some sort of short distance travel. I definitely do not recommend traveling during the eclipse. So you may experience a breakthrough with your ideas and your effort. You may be feeling energized in that way. Sun will bring confidence to this. And with it being your 8th house ruler, there is always transformation when you exert your confidence. And so that's exactly what's taking place. You are in control of your life, and your efforts are the only thing that will bring big change. And so you may experience this breakthrough, or you could even start a new project, a new creative project that involves writing or public speaking, anything that involves your social media or your interests in expressing your ideas, that is seen here. And also, because the 3rd house is a house of learning, it's the 1st house of learning, there may be some changes in through learning at this time. And that's because Sun is that 8th house of ruler of transformation. Now, at the end of the month, on the 29th, we've got Saturn going into Pisces. And Saturn for you is your 1st and 2nd house ruler. So this is going to be very significant. This is going to feel very significant. And Saturn, you know, brings discipline and boundaries and structure into whatever house he's transiting. And he'll be in Pisces for the next 2.5 years. And so this is going to bring this pressure of responsibility around themes of your speech, what you value, and also family matters. Now, with Saturn being your first house ruler in your third, this is going to show major discipline through effort, and it's going to be transformative of your entire physical body. And so this energy may feel slow because it's Saturn. The nature of Saturn is very slow and delayed, but the slowness will be there, but there will be steady skill development. And I say this because the third house is the house of skill. And so Saturn is in this house. He's reshaping things. He's restructuring. He's taking out the trash. He's opening up room for the newness to come in. And he'll be doing that for the next 2.5 years. So, you know, you may be watching this video now or as Saturn's going into Pisces, and you're not going to really see much change in the beginning. It's very slow, but it will be steady. And the key here is to be consistent and to don't give up and to show that commitment, especially with developing new skills or developing your own ideas and related to your interests as well. So with that being said, I hope you have an awesome March. A lot of energy is going on, and I will see you in the next video. Aquarius Ascendant or Aquarius Moon, this is your March 2025 overview. We're going to kick off the month with Venus going retrograde in Pisces on the 1st. Now, Pisces for you is your second house. So let's take a look at what the second house means. We've got a lot of transits taking place in Pisces this month. So second house for you is a house of family, your speech. It's a house of wealth and finances, income, and represents the head, okay? And so the second house is also an Artha house, which is tied to the earth elements, which involves ambition and wealth and material gains, material security and financial gains. So with Venus being retrograde in Pisces, Venus is your 4th and 9th house ruler. So this could be bringing sweetness to your speech in the second house, financial gains from luck, love, or luxury. So Venus represents all of these things, and being your 4th house ruler, there's going to be some emotion into this, some compassion and agreeability happening. And then with Venus also ruling your 9th house, there's some higher learning. It could also be themes around your father and or a teacher as well. So with Venus retrograde, this is just a time to rethink, revisit these relationship themes, especially in how they relate to your wealth and the resources that you bring in. Also, the second house is your house of independence. It's how you provide for yourself, and also the provisions that are given to you by your family. And it's the values that you get from your family. And so there is this element of compromise and compassion that Venus is bringing into this area of your life right now. Now, on the 13th, there will be a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Leo. So the moon for you is the 6th house ruler, and this will be in your 7th house. So there could be some emotional intensity around partnerships or business partners. A relationship may reach a turning point, or a conflict with a partner may resolve. Themes of service and support and relationships come up very strongly right now. And so what we've got here is your 6th house ruler is the house of of your hard work, your daily routine, service and health, even enemies and obstacles. And moon rules this house for you. So there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in these themes, just naturally for you, Aquarius. And with it going into your seventh house, it's going to bring all of these themes into your relationships. And so that's what is to be considered during this time. Now, on the very next day of the full moon, we've got Sun entering Pisces. So Sun's going to join the party in your second house, and the Sun represents relationships for you. So this is just really doubling down that relationship energy taking place in your second house of independence and values, speech, family, resources, stability, all the keywords, right? So there could be, with your seventh house ruler going into the second house, there could be income or financial situations revolving your relationship. And with Sun being the planet of our confidence, Sun going into your second house could bring confidence to your speech. Just simple as that, okay? Now, Mercury is going to go retrograde on the 15th. And this is your fifth and eighth house ruler going into the second house. So first of all, Mercury is your thinking mind. It's your intellect. It's your reasoning. It's your ability to have skills and be adaptable. And so when Mercury, as your fifth and eighth house ruler, is going into the second house, we're looking at intellectual resources, but your speculations may be risky. So this is not a very good time to speculate or to assume. They may not work out very well, especially if you're trying to understand or reason with something. There is that connection between the fifth house of speculation and the eighth house of transformation. So with it being in your second house, for instance, you could make investments, but it's not guaranteed. It's going to guarantee to affect you financially, but you're not sure whether it will be auspicious or inauspicious. I'll say that. So just especially with Mercury going retrograde, the retrograde motion is not a time to be making decisions. It's not a time to be solidifying anything. So just keep that in mind. Even though these energies are activated, you may be thinking or being prone to thinking about making investments or speculating in that sort of way, but it's not advised, okay? Now, on the 18th, we've got Uranus going into Taurus. Now, I said I wasn't going to do this mini breakout, but Uranus is going to be in Taurus for the next 7 years. He's already gone back into Aries. Now he's headed into Taurus and will be direct for a little while. And this is your fourth house. Yeah, your fourth house of home, your mother. This is your peace of mind. And the fourth house is where you make your emotional connections. It's your private life. It's your personal life. It's opposite the 10th house where everyone sees what you're doing. The fourth house is where you're keeping things to yourself. So Uranus being this planet of rebellion, radical change. Think of Uranus as a higher vibration of Mercury, okay? Like the intelligence, the thinking mind, the skill. Uranus is like Mercury on steroids, okay? So there's going to be some sort of breakthrough in your personal life, in the way that you make personal emotional connections. There could also be something in relation to your mother. And with it being in Taurus, it's going to have the themes of security, stability, your resources. It could be related to food or speech, any of those themes as well. Now, on the 19th and 20th, Moon will be going into Scorpio. Moon's debilitated in Scorpio. And so this is happening for everyone. But just in general, these 2 days, about 2.5 days, it's advised that just to not make any big plans because you may not be feeling up to it. And that's just because Moon is debilitated, is very vulnerable. It just doesn't have the capacity to deal with a lot of change or just being adaptable in general. So just a heads up on those days. Now on the 28th, there is a new moon in Pisces, and it's a solar eclipse. Now I'm calling this the beginning of an end because we've got the new moon energy, which is a beginning cycle in Pisces, which is the ending of the zodiac, with the solar eclipse, and the solar eclipse wants to literally eclipse something out. So where is this taking place for you? Well, this is taking place in your second house. So there's something being eclipsed in regard to a resource, or maybe just your speech in general, what you're saying. And the sun for you is the seventh house, right? So there's also that theme of relationships. So there could be new beginnings in finances or your family, especially in regards to your family values. A business partnership may influence your income, and you're realigning your values around wealth and security becomes essential. And this is all in regard to, or all related to, a relationship as well. So these things can happen through a relationship, because of a relationship, but also with Sun being there, this is a planet of confidence. So this is also bringing confidence into your house of wealth, and it could be through relationships. Okay. Now on the 29th, let me say this, the eclipse, the day of the eclipse, I advise not to do anything risky or adventurous. Just sit back and hang out on that day. But the day after the eclipse, you can go ahead and make those new moon wishes and manifest those new intentions in regard to income and bringing in more wealth into your life. Okay. So now we'll look at the 29th, Saturn going into Pisces. Saturn's going to join the group at the end of the month and really slow things down. He's going to slow things down. And Saturn for you represents your 12th and first house ruler. So there's going to be a blend of expenses and loss and solitude and spirituality aligned with you and your physical self in general. So just your life overall is going to be experiencing this. So with Saturn going into your second house, there could be delayed resources and higher expenses. So I know that doesn't sound good, but Saturn's going to be in this house for the next 2.5 years, restructuring, reshaping the themes of your second house. And so the lesson here is to be consistent with your efforts and to go with the change, and really embrace that time for solitude, especially with Saturn being your 12th house ruler. It may be more conducive for you to spend some time alone with yourself, with your thoughts, because this is also dealing with your first house, your lagna, your ascendant. So this is all about you. It's a big personal and physical transformation that you may just need that introspective time, that alone time, to just get things worked out. And if it feels overwhelming, if it feels like it's like you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, just stick with it. That's kind of what Saturn's whole shtick is that he's slow and steady, but that wins the race. So just keep at it, keep doing the right thing, and you will be a brand new person at the end of this. So I will do a breakout video of Saturn and Pisces, and we'll look at where these transits are happening, especially where Saturn is also aspecting. So for you, Saturn is aspecting is aspecting Taurus and Sagittarius. And Taurus is your 4th house, and Sagittarius is your 11th house. So those themes will also be activated during this 2.5-year transit. So just keep that in mind as well. So I hope you found this helpful. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Pisces Ascendant, Pisces Moon, this is your March 2025 overview. We're going to kick off the month with Venus going retrograde on the 1st in Pisces, and this is your first house. So let's take a look at your first house, because we've got a lot of Pisces energy going on this month. And the first house is the house of yourself. It's your identity. It's your physical appearance, your physical body. It's also a Kendra house, which is one of the 4 major houses, 1, 4, 7, and 10, that whenever there's a transit through one of these houses, is very transformational and foundational. So it's going to be really important and significant. Now, the first house is also the a Dharma house. And so there is going to be a sense of purpose and meaning that's attached to these transits, as well as a bit of ease, because as a Dharma house, as a trinal house, there is a bit of ease there and luck that helps along because it's meant to be. It's part of your destiny, okay? So with Venus going retrograde in Pisces, Venus is your 3rd and 8th house ruler in the 1st house. So we're looking at beauty and art in your personality. There's courage and transformation in your physical self. So this is going to be a really big month for you, Pisces. With Venus going retrograde, it's just a time to rethink, revisit some of these themes, especially related to your relationships, your commitments, the things that you appreciate or how you feel appreciated. These will all be really important during this time. Now, there is a full moon in Leo, which is also a lunar eclipse on the 13th, going into the 14th. So for you, Pisces, this is a 5th house ruler going into the 6th. So there could be emotional realizations around work, your health, or your daily routines. There could be a creative project connected to your career, maybe concluded, or you may release unhealthy habits, which is really good. So caring for your body and mind become a priority. That's that 1st house rulership being there. And whenever we have a full moon and a lunar eclipse, it really is this culmination, this ending of a cycle that's taking place. And with it being in your 1st house, it's really going to be all about you and your physical being, how you express yourself, your relationships, your work careers, all the houses combined into one whenever we have this 1st house transit. That's how important it is. Now, on the 14th, the sun will enter in Pisces. It's going to enter your 1st house. And so for the next month, your 6th house ruler will be in the 1st house. So this is bringing confidence because sun represents our confidence and strength. And the 6th house is going to be that hard work and what just has to be done. And that's going to be coming into your 1st house. It's also going to be bringing in issues around your health, your daily routine, any kind of debts or enemies you may be facing during this time as well. And it could also bring a competitive nature because sun is in that 6th lord, that 6th house ruler deals with competitions, right? Enemies, then what's the opposite of enemy? So it kind of brings in those themes as well. Now on the 15th, we've got Mercury going retrograde in the 1st house of Pisces. And so if you watched the introduction, you saw that I was talking about Mercury and Venus being our personal planets. And so both of them will be retrograde this month. And so this will be a very personal time for everyone in these transits. So Mercury is our thinking mind, it's our intellect, it's our skill, it's our ability to be adaptive and to discriminate and to reason. And for you, Mercury rules your 4th and 7th house. So these are both Kendra houses. Mercury is ruling that emotional connection as well as your committed relationships. So whenever Mercury goes retrograde, these themes are at play, and it's a time to take things slow and to rethink, to reevaluate before making a decision. There is likely going to be a change in these areas, and so being adaptable and just slightly hesitant. Don't jump the gun, don't be impulsive. And this could be a good transit for communication and just diplomacy in your overall personality. Okay, so that's how you'll come across. Then on the 18th, we have Uranus going into Taurus. So for you, Taurus is your 3rd house, and Uranus is the planet of radical innovation, rebellion, brings breakthrough. So think of Uranus as a higher vibration of Mercury. It's like the thinking mind on steroids. And so when Uranus travels through your 3rd house, there's going to be major breakthroughs in your courage, in your self-effort, in the things that you're interested in, how you communicate, your skills, all of these things. This is going to be a really great transit for you, as well as it being in the sign of Taurus. There's these themes of resources, stability, and just bringing in security as well. So just keep that in mind. For the next 7 years, there will be this transit of Uranus in Taurus in your third house. Now, on the 19th and the 20th, there will be Moon in Scorpio. Moon transits into Scorpio every month, but just wanted to give you a heads up on these 2 days. You may not be feeling it. Anytime Moon transits through Scorpio, I know I'm just not feeling up for it as much and just maybe not in the mood. So just keep that in mind when you're making plans or filling up your calendar. Make sure that you avoid those days if possible, because you just may not be up for it. All right, now on the 28th, there is a new moon in Pisces, your first house. That's also a solar eclipse. So we've got 2 eclipses this month. I told you it was going to be a big month. Now I'm calling this the beginning of an end, because we've got the beginning nature of a new moon paired with the ending cycle of Pisces. And then we've also got this eclipse that is literally eclipsing out something in regards to you, your first house, your physical appearance, your body, your existence. There's something that's being taken out that is no longer serving you. Okay. And so with Saturn being your 11th and your 12th house ruler, there could be some recognition, some achievement and gains through being isolated, through being in that introverted space. And Saturn could bring some struggles with your self-confidence overall. Just being in the first house, Saturn is kind of like a wet blanket, but he is restructuring, reshaping your very existence. And so this is a very crucial time. This happens every 30 years. Saturn will return back to Pisces, and this is your first house. So it is a time of just rebuilding who you are in a sense. And it could feel slow. It could feel slow going, because Saturn by nature is slow. But the lesson here is to be consistent, to be steady with that, and to not give up, right? So you may not be feeling super optimistic, and that's okay, because Saturn is also aspecting Taurus, where Jupiter is, our planet of hope and optimism. So we're going to be feeling that. And then Saturn also is aspecting Sagittarius, your 10th house. So it could be slowing down career in that sort of way. But I'll do a breakout video specifically on Saturn in Pisces. This will be an important one for you, and we'll go over those transits and aspects more in detail. But with that being said, I really hope you have a great March. Thank you so much for watching. And if any of y'all have stuck around to watch the whole video, kudos to you, because I know it's taken me about 3 hours to record this, and I've just gone nonstop. I haven't even edited the video yet. So I'm going to go make another cup of coffee. But I really hope you guys have a wonderful March. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video.